All right, recording now.
All right. So I think when I came over there yesterday, we're kind of talking about what we wanted to get into today. So kind of came up with the idea of crypto. It's definitely been an interesting topic so far. And I think I kind of want to go in the direction of our starting story with it.
How we got into it and how we
Yeah.
like found
Yeah.
out about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Do you remember the very early beginnings?
yeah. So the way it kind of started for kind of because our stories they kind of go together,
Mm-hmm.
obviously because we grew up together. But so pretty much our dad we're well all throughout our life our dad was like really big into computers and stuff like that, and
Tech and whatnot.
yeah, he always worked with computers and everything. And so I remember all through high school, like early years of high school, and this was like 2011, 2011ish, 2012 maybe, like early
Mm-hmm.
days of like Bitcoin. Dad was reading like a PC magazine thing, and he came to me, he's like, hey, we should mine for Bitcoin. I remember that was the first time I ever heard of Bitcoin, and it was like now looking back on it, it's pretty surprising because it was really the early days of crypto. And so dad came to me and he's like, hey, let's build a computer and let's build like a mining setup. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is awesome. He's like, hey, I'm asking him what it is. And he's like, oh, you can make money with it. And I'm like, how much money do you make? And he's like, I don't know, like $5 a month. And I'm like, $5 a month. I'm like, that's nothing. And
Yeah.
I didn't know what like investing and stuff was either. Like I thought like $5 was literally $5. Like you get $5. I'm like, that sounds stupid. I can go mow like Nan on Pa's lawn for $15. And that's a
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, $5 is nothing. So then he's like, no, like you create this, you build this computer and this computer mines Bitcoin and you get paid out. But the thing is, it would cost you like $5 in electricity. So I'm like, technically, you're making $0. But building the whole computer part was kind of interesting to me. So I'm like, oh, what do they look like? So he showed me the magazine, like, showed me pictures, and it's just like a motherboard with a GPU, CPU, and then like on like a metal rack. And I'm like, that's not a computer. I'm like, where's the keyboard? Like, where's the monitor? Like my mind like back then was like a computer is a desktop computer with a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor. And all the pictures they just had motherboard like motherboard, no case, and a GPU and like a CPU. So I'm like, Dad, that's freaking stupid. I ain't doing that crap.
Did they
So
look similar to what they look like now? I don't remember.
it was just like all it was just it was a CPU or
Was it like a shell?
no, it's just like a motherboard sitting on a rack
Oh,
with
oh,
like with a
oh,
power supply plugged into it,
yeah, yeah.
and it looked kind of like the Ethereum mining rigs, like stuff like that.
Mm.
But that was kind of like the first time I'd ever heard about it.
That was 2011.
It was 2011 or 2012, so I was like a sophomore or a freshman in high school or something like that. I think it
Yeah,
was even before you had your computer, maybe before
yeah. I would have
Dad
been in
bought you your first
middle school or
computer.
something.
You know,
So,
so,
well, all right. So the chances are okay. So you guys you show interest in it. So then he buys one or builds one. What's the chances that you would have either kept it or put it in some type of cold storage or something?
well, I've thought a lot about that. I think the only way we ever would have kept it or held on to it is if we like mined for like 1 month and then just forgot about it. That's the only
Yeah.
way we ever would have like kept it. And then I remember asking Dad too, like, if you thought it was so, like, I asked him like more recently, I'm like, if you thought it was so cool, why didn't you just mine with your own computer? Because at the time he had like a really nice computer. He had a Dell XPS like gaming computer, like a huge. I remember it was a huge
I remember
computer.
it. Yeah, I remember it.
I remember playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare on that bad boy.
That tower was tall, dude.
Yeah,
I
I
think it was
think it
like
was.
4 feet tall,
Yeah, that thing was huge.
and it was
But
heavy too.
I'm like, why didn't you just mine on that? Like, try it out,
Mm.
like just to like learn it or understand it. And he's like, I don't know, I never did. He's still that computer's still sitting on storage. I want to go get the hard drives, go get the hard drives and see if there's any like like Control F.
What? What?
Control F the
Mag-
hard drive, BTC, see if there's a wallet somewhere on there. Like,
yeah,
because
it
I don't know,
magically appeared.
10 years, over 10 years ago. So maybe he forgot about it. Like, what if he tried mining for like one day? But anyways, that's kind of how I first heard about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think,
Remember when Dogecoin really started to take off? Was that the first time you did? You tried telling me to jump into it.
no,
I
well,
don't.
okay, so even before that though, even
Yeah,
before
right.
that, the next like kind of intersection with like crypto was when Bitcoin hit 19,000. That was the next time. I think that 2017, 2018, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
when Bitcoin hit. Oh, I got the chart like right here. I can tell you right now. Hold on, let me go to this other camera view so you guys can see too. So yeah, that was 2017. So the next time I heard about it was 2017. So 5 or 6 years later, and back in 2012, we're talking a $12 Bitcoin.
Oh, I
So
didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was that little.
yeah,
Or
so
that not as much.
if it was 2011, $3 Bitcoin, $3 Bitcoin,
Yeah, so that's
$7
right then.
Bitcoin, 12. It hit like $100 in 2013. So
Sure, that was a monumental
it
jump.
was like it was low, yeah. So then in 2017, I remember it coming back up because in 2017 it hit 19,000, so 20,000. I remember I had like this is the best part of the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So I had known very little about Bitcoin. I knew that you mined for it, and I think by 2017, Bitcoin was fully into ASIC mining because I think some halvings have happened, and mining on a GPU, you weren't able to do it anymore.
It just didn't have enough juice.
Yeah, like GPUs didn't have enough hash rate,
Yeah.
so it was like straight ASIC mining, like at the S9s, or I think it was S9 miners from like Bitmain and stuff. So I remember like looking back into it, and I remember like everyone knew me and dad and you kind of like computer people. I remember people asking me like, how do you mine it? Like, how does it work and stuff like that? And I remember being like, oh, like I remember telling people this. I remember being like, so there's like information, like bits of information hidden on the internet, and like the miners, they like comb through the internet and they find those bits, and that's how you find Bitcoin, like almost like an Easter egg hunt on the internet.
Yeah.
And I thought, because that's what I thought the miners did, like that was my understanding of it, because I didn't understand like the way that it actually worked. The miners are verifying the logbook and then being paid out in Bitcoin for the work. So I was just like totally had no idea. But I remember people asking me, I'm like, I think it works like this, and it just did not work like that. And that was right around like 2017 ish.
That was yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, funny.
Uh,
So then I would say the next big thing would be us getting into Robinhood. That would be because that was like I remember even a little bit before 2017. I remember being real interested in investing, and I took like a college level economics class, and we did a lot of paper trading. I remember we got 10 grand.
I think I did it.
Yeah,
I did it in high school.
yeah, we got 10 grand to paper trade. And I remember I bought like a bunch of gold and a bunch of Google, and then by the end of the semester I had like I think we did like a competition to see who made the best investments over the year. I think I bought oil. I bought oil, Google, and gold. Like a bunch. I spent most of my 10,000 on those three.
Yeah, you were getting risky on those picks right there.
Yeah, and I remember I lost like $1,000 over the course of like 3 or 4 months. And I remember the kid that ended up winning the competition in our class was like plus $5. He made like $5 on his initial $10,000 investment, and
Looking back, it's kind of funny. The only way that you'd make significant gains is if you did some new tech startup or something that kind
Yeah.
of exploded in the last 4 months. I remember doing it and I had no idea what to pick and just start spending it.
And then I remember going to like Marshall, our grandfather, and being like, because dad was like, I don't know nothing about investing. Go ask Pa. And Pa's like, yeah, penny stocks.
Yeah.
And I remember dad was like, yeah, I owned some Dell back in the day. And that was about it. But I remember like really wanting to get into it. And then we found out about Robinhood. And do you know that if we had that meeting with that guy from Fidelity, if we had that meeting before we learned about Robinhood or after?
I would say after, but that's just a guess. I don't remember. Your memory's a little better than mine.
But anyways, do you remember the night we found out about Robinhood?
Yep.
You know, do you remember that story?
With Michael, right?
Yeah.
Michael was going through it. He set up his account.
Yeah, me and you had
And
like no clue about it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, think it back. If it wasn't for him, it would have been a long time before I got into any bit of investing and or crypto.
Do you know how like investing went back in the day? If you had like a TD Ameritrade account or something like that, or an E-Trade account?
I had gotten a Robinhood account first.
No,
And
no,
then
but like
after
before Robinhood, like do you remember why Robinhood was so like revolutionary?
Yeah, I mean, it made it easy or something. They gave it an app, basically.
Yeah, well, I think TD Ameritrade and I think E-Trade might have had apps,
Maybe.
but I
Oh, it's
remember,
user friendly, right?
yeah,
It's super
well,
easy to work.
yes, but I'm pretty sure whenever you made a trade, it cost you money. So every
Oh, the
time,
fees.
yeah, there's fees. So every time you made a trade, it was like $2 or $3 or $5 or something like
Whatever
that.
the fee was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's right.
and
I actually forgot about that.
Robinhood was it didn't have any fees like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So I remember being like, holy crap, like this is huge. And it's right on my phone. It's right up the alley.
Mhm.
You remember what Michael had bought?
Yeah, I was thinking Alibaba, I think, right?
I
Like
don't
some
even
of
know
that.
how that's doing right now. I
It
wonder
was
if you
50
still.
bucks.
It
It's
was
50
50.
bucks. It's 50 bucks when he's looking at it. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I think it had gone up to 100 bucks.
That had
It may be more now or maybe less, but
that had to be like right around the that had to be right around 2017, 2018. When did
something
Robinhood
like
come out?
something like that. I was like right at 18 or maybe I even had to wait a couple months before I could legally create an account at 18.
I wonder when Robinhood came out. Let me look that up. Release date.
I mean, I'm sure it was early.
I just come up with a movie.
Do Robinhood Exchange or something. I don't know. But yeah, I remember that.
26 May 10th, 2016.
Yeah.
No, is that it?
Well,
2016.
I mean, it sounds right.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not looking at it, but
it would probably be like 2017 when we heard about it. So right when Bitcoin hit that 19,000 was when we kind of heard about it. I remember I think I got me and you both got the app, and I think the first thing I got was I think I bought Snapchat. And I remember I actually made like quite a bit of money on, not quite a bit, but like for a first time, like my first
well,
trade.
no, you killed it on that. I don't know what happens, but you'd make a trade and it touches gold instantly.
Well, I think what happened was, remember, you get like, if you sign up you'd get like one free stock up to like $1,000 value.
Yeah,
I think my
yeah.
my free stock was Snapchat. So I had like one, so I bought like four more. And there was like, I think Snapchat was like $12 or $15 or something. So I bought like three or four more, and then they went up to like 80 and I sold. And I also bought AMD because AMD was cheap. It was the same
Yep.
thing. Then AMD went up to like 80 or $90, and I sold them too for, I think I made like 500 or 600 off both. And that was like my very first experience like making any trades at all.
Yeah, and then do you remember when it shifted into their crypto platform a little bit?
I remember not look.
It was released later, right?
Yeah, it was. I remember you could look at crypto, but you couldn't really buy any. And I remember like looking at Bitcoin. I think they only had Bitcoin for a little while.
Maybe, yeah.
And it was, I remember just looking at it and like, oh man, I wish I could have had this. And I remember just seeing like $17,000 Bitcoin and being like, damn, like I wish me and dad would have made those miners back then.
Mm-hmm.
And but I remember buying some stuff, selling a little bit, making a little bit, and then I remember like not looking at it at all for a while. Cause then
Yeah, and I think when you had kind of, I don't know, I would be curious what was happening around that time. You might have stopped, um, or your interest maybe fell a little bit, and I think mine actually stepped up.
yeah, yours
I think
definitely stepped up.
I think I started listening to a lot of stuff on it, and
Yeah.
it just and for some reason there was like an instant attraction to it, and
Yeah, you loved it. I kind of so like the way that I kind of looked at it was like I think everybody who kind of gets at a younger age gets into like stocks and trading and stuff like that. I think
well, 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 probably when in 2016, 2017, dude, once crypto comes out, a lot of the new age, there's a statistic out there. I just can't remember it. A lot of kids are flocking to crypto now.
yeah, what I'm
Or yeah,
saying.
I should say younger people.
Yeah, well, I think like well the reason why is because people think like oh they see these like success stories and it's like oh my gosh like, you can make a ton of money. All you got to do is just like put some money here and then it 50x's and turns into something. But I remember like I've always had like a real rational like more rational mind, and I
Mm.
remember thinking
Well,
like
yeah, knowing that you bought oil and gold in your college days or high school days.
yeah, and then well I did, but then I did never made anything, and then I remember like actually I remember telling like when I sat down with dad like hey teach me how to invest. And I remember sitting down with like Marshall and saying hey like can you teach me how to invest, and them kind of giving me like the hey it's not like the golden ticket, you know, you do like it's not as simple as you think it is. And that's kind of been like that's kind of like the story of every young adult's life is like
Yeah,
hey
yeah.
it's not as simple as you think it is. Like I remember like oh you can just day trade and like it goes up 5% and you sell and then you buy more and then you sell and then like I didn't have a clue about taxes and like all that stuff.
Slippage, fees.
Yeah, slippage, fees, you know, all like I had no clue about any of that. So I remember like once you hit that realization, you're like, oh crap, this is not as simple as I thought it was. You know?
Well, yeah, and you know what tends to happen is you learn that lesson when you lose money. That's when
Yeah,
you learn the
yeah,
lesson, and
yeah,
it comes a little bit more real.
yeah. I think like for a little while I had like I don't know. I think in that time between like me having Snapchat and AMD, I think I sold the Snapchat and I kept the AMD, and my account just kind of like sat and I just kind of like a little bit lost interest and like didn't really look at it. And then
Mm.
that's when the next kind of big part of our milestone of our story comes.
Yeah. Which I don't know how much you're willing to share about that. I remember it, but it's probably a little bit foggy on the details. It was still Robinhood, right? Didn't it have wasn't it like Doge when they introduced Doge, didn't that kind of explode?
No, not really. So, the next kind of big milestone for like you and I would be the very like right before COVID started. So late 2018, early 2019.
No, COVID was 2020, so it'd be late 2019, right?
No, well, it was spring. So it was the spring before because we were slow in work, remember? And we were like, hey, let's do like little, like me and you work together, um,
Yeah.
doing carpentry, and we're like, hey, let's like look at stocks like every single morning before we start work or like have like our little financial talks before work. And
Yeah.
I remember I had just gotten married. So yeah,
Mm.
it was 2019,
Yeah.
early 2020, late 2019. So I had just gotten married, and it was right when COVID started, and you were kind of hitting your swing, like you were all over the markets, watching them, trying to figure them out, and I'd kind of like stepped away, and then we started talking about it a whole lot more, and I just remember I just like did not have a pot to piss in at all. I had
Mm-hmm.
no money. My wife was in nursing school. We had just bought a house. We had just gotten married. We're buying furniture, trying to buy furniture, taking hand me downs, like stuff like that. And so It was early COVID. And I think one of the conversations that I do remember very, very well was me and you, early COVID, early 2020, probably either like February, March, looking at Bitcoin and being like, dude, Bitcoin is only 3,500. Like, let's split it and buy one.
Yep. I remember that.
And
I
I'm
remember
just
that.
like, dude, I
Yeah,
cannot.
because it had fallen.
It had
At
it
this at this
dropped.
point it fell hard. I mean, we know that the volatility of crypto is.
Well, look, I can look at it right now. Where's this big drop at? I'm looking at, yeah, so February 13th, 2019, $3,600 Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember, yeah, it was January, February, 36, 4 grand, 39, 4,000. And we were looking at it and we're like, I remember you telling me, like, let's just split it. Let's just split one. Let's just split one.
I was too afraid to go in.
And then I was
remember that.
like, this is, and remember, like, hindsight is so 2020, but I remember just being like, dude, what if we spend $2,000 and it drops even more?
Yeah.
Like, that would freaking suck to lose 2 grand. And like, remember, like, my trades up to then have been like a couple $100, you know, $20 into Snapchat or $20 into AMD. And, but I remember us talking about that and I was just like terrified of making like a big trade like that. And you, what were you buying at that time? You were buying a bunch of stuff.
Well, I was looking. I probably had done a little bit of Bitcoin or something like that. I think what had happened was, or from maybe what I remember, you actually started to transition into the crypto stuff. I had not. I didn't yet.
You had.
I was interested in it. You were teaching me about it.
Well, you were buying the cruise liners.
Yep. Yep. I was still into stocks.
What do you remember? What stocks you were buying though?
And the cruise stuff, Norwegian and Carnival. I had gone into them. I think those are. My thought process behind it was that because of COVID, all this stuff had totally shut down. Matter of fact, I'm almost surprised it didn't go to business. I didn't even look into it that deep back then. But my assumption was, COVID slowed everything down, or it's gonna slow everything down. This is at the point when it's starting to occur. The shutdowns are happening, or at least they're the beginning stages. So I went in and bought, and I think they're already low, but they hadn't hit the bottom yet, and I just didn't probably wait long enough. And I think they have crept back up in time, but I don't think it's anything significant.
Yeah. So then my next big play was, and I remember this like perfectly to this freaking day. I remember just like Bitcoin just kind of like haunting me, just severely haunting me. And I think, I don't know. So at the time that this was happening, I don't know if you could buy partial Bitcoin on Robinhood. I can't remember if you could buy partials. I want to say you maybe could, but the way I remember it is like, I remember looking at Bitcoin and being like, I don't have 3 grand to buy one whole Bitcoin, so I'm not even gonna try.
I feel like you could, but
I don't know if you
maybe
could.
couldn't.
I don't think you could buy like, because I remember, I think like later on, like down the road, I remember there being like a news release of them saying like, hey, now you can buy like a percentage of a stock or a percentage of a crypto or whatever.
Yeah.
So I remember like just staring at, like being home at night, like staring at Bitcoin and just being like, oh, I wish so bad I could have bought some of this, but you know, look at the price, you know, it's we don't have that much money. And I remember explaining to my wife kind of what Bitcoin was and about, you know, my dad asking me to build miners with him and stuff like that, and kind of the whole story of it. And she was like, well, is there other ones? And I'm like, yeah, there's Ethereum. And that at the time was, you know, $700, something like that. I'm like, I don't have that much money either. Or $300 was for Ethereum.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have that much money. Or I think it might have been like $270 for one Ethereum. And I'm like, I don't have that. So, and I remember on Robinhood, it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Dogecoin. There's 4 of them, four cryptos on Robinhood, and XRP. I remember seeing XRP and be like, "Hey, that one sounds cool. I'd like to buy that." And you couldn't buy it on Robinhood. It was just you could only look at the price. And then there's
I don't think
Dogecoin.
you still can't, right? Because there's securities or whatever.
Possibly, but I'm not even sure. And then so she was like looking at my phone with me. She's like, "Why don't you buy that dog one right there?" And I'm like, "What do you mean dog one?" I'm like, "It's Doge." And she's like, "Yeah, buy that. If you want to buy crypto and you can't buy Bitcoin and you can't afford Ethereum, like buy that one. That one's worth less than a penny."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Shit, why not? I got $20 in here. Let's, I don't know, buy $20 worth." So actually, dude, I'm going to look up on my Robinhood right now and see what my very first trade was. See, I don't
Yeah.
even know if the history is in there, but it might be.
Yeah. So, the thing that I remember is that you you did do small purchases like over time, right? It wasn't one big buy. Didn't you do a few?
Oh, dude, I do have it. So my first buy was right here.
$10.
No,
What is it?
$40.
Yeah.
$40.
Okay.
March 7th, 2020. $40. I got 16,000 Dogecoin at 0.002 cents.
Yeah.
That was my very first order. And then my next order was like a week later. I bought another, I think Doge went down. Doge went down to 0.0018. So that
So you were
0.0024.
doing dollar cost averaging
So,
before it was even
before I
what it
even knew
was.
about it.
Yeah.
So I remember we would have like we were having all these like financial conversations, and I'm like, "Hey," I'm like, "I bought this," and my whole like strategy with like zero money was like, if I can't spend 100, I'll spend what I can, like whatever I can allocate towards this. I'm gonna do it.
Like
And
scrape the couch cushions for
yeah,
some
I
quarters or
think we
pennies.
literally like said that, like clean out the couch cushions, find the quarters, go put the $10 in my bank account, and then buy crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember there being like any stocks that were even like worth that much that I even knew about.
Well, remember when, so you were buying it. I'm pretty sure you were over there telling me like just do it. Just get in, just for fun. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And by this time you started, I think, to like get a grasp of what was going on. Or sorry, about you started to understand crypto a little bit more and more.
Yeah.
And
I have all
remember
my
you were like, just put $100 in it. You can afford it or something.
yeah. And at the
And
time
I
you had like saved a bunch of your money and stuff. Like you were a really good saver.
but I didn't.
Yeah, you
I didn't
didn't
put.
you didn't I think I remember you telling me it's kind of stupid or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it was it or why would I put money in Dogecoin when I could put it in Bitcoin or or something like that.
Yeah, or I could buy Tesla or something like that. I have all
Yeah.
my purchase years like 40, $20, $20, $8, 20 cents, $8, $30, like $14. So I have all these like little tiny buys. So I ended up like I remember kind of like setting a goal for that year, like, oh man, hey, it'd be really cool. Cause once I saw like I had 16,000 shares, obviously I'm not a retard. I started doing the math and I'm like, hey, if this ever went to $1, like that's $16,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like,
I remember you telling me that, and I was like, dude, you're insane.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
insane.
And then I'm like, well, instead of having like 10,000 Dogecoin, what if I had 100,000 Dogecoin? And so I'm like, okay, well, between now and the end of the year, and this was like summertime or whatever, I'm like, between now and the end of the year, like how much money would I have to spend per week to make it to 100,000 by the end of the year?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know, $5 a week or something like that. So I remember not even having the $5 to do a week. So I would like wait like a couple weeks and I'd have like an extra $20 and I'd put that in. And then remember like my birthday came around and I had like an extra $100 and I put that in, or $50 or whatever it was. And so I ended up with, and you guys can do the math for yourself, but I ended up with like well over 100,000 Dogecoin. And I remember I got to that and I was kind of like, I don't want to put any more money in this. Like, and it kind of had like traded up and down and it was all under a cent. And it kind of had went up and down, up and down. So for almost a full year of buying Dogecoin, like it didn't do anything. I had like whatever, a couple $100 or something into it. And this is still while it was underneath a penny. So I'm like, man, if it goes to a penny, I'll have like a couple grand or something. And then 2021 starts, and I remember July, I think in July, or not July, I mean January, it hit over a penny. And I was like crapping my pants, like, holy crap. I remember me and you were trimming Ryan's house, and I kept showing you the charts. Like, hey, look.
Was it like exploding at that? Was it continuing to go up, or it had? You remember?
If I look at the charts, I can probably remember a little bit better. So let's see, January of 21. January of 21, it got up to 0.009.
Yeah.
So that's just under a penny in January. And then February, it was at 6 cents. And I was like, holy crap. Like, there's like thousands of dollars in my account from hundreds of dollars to thousands. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I think before that, you and I had talked and we were like, you're like, what are you going to do with this? I'm like, I'm just going to hold it for as long as I can. And at least like a year or two is what I remember what my goal was. I wanted to stick to my goal. So then, right in March, April, May, it started climbing all the way up to what it hit 70 something cents.
I think so. 69 maybe.
64 cents, something in there. So I had a lot of money in that account. And I was like, I remember just like looking at it over and over and over again, like every single 20 minutes I would look at it. And it kind of like,
That's funny.
it kind of takes control of you a little bit in a bad way. You start like almost getting obsessed with it, constantly looking at your account. And not that we came from a poor family or anything like that. We grew up just fine. But we weren't rich by any imagination. We had no clue about investing. So
Yeah.
sitting there with thousands and thousands of dollars in your account off this, couple $100 investment, like I was blown away.
Yeah. So what I think what had happened was when you were showing me that you were either called me or something, because it had shot up like a ton. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it shot up. So then you were either talking to me or
Rubbing it
sent
in
me
your
a-
face.
yeah, or sending me pictures of it or something. That is what opened the door into crypto for me. That was like that was like, okay, there's something similar to what I've been doing, but it's just on a different level and of maybe a little bit more excitement. But I remember just thinking like, holy smokes, it's just different. Like this is neat, and I'm sure obviously the money part had something to do with it. But then as I got into it, you kind of start learning a little bit about the technology behind it, and that's okay. That's cool. Then you hear that it's a decentralized currency. That's kind of neat. Okay, and then you get into the miners and whatnot, and you're definitely more the guy on the miner stuff. I'm not. That's not what I'm good at, but.
Well, then you get into like the story of Satoshi Nakamoto,
Yeah,
what
yeah. I
Bitcoin
remember you
actually
sending me.
means.
Yeah, I remember you sending me a YouTube video about that.
Barely
Almost like a
sociable.
documentary or something.
Yeah, barely sociable.
Yeah,
And then
that was cool.
dad got into it too.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot. So before I get into like the mining stuff, so then you and I are like, once you got into it, we're like, okay, hey, what's the next thing that's gonna 10x, 20x? We're looking for like the next thing. And my mindset was kind of like, I was actually, I'm pretty proud of myself. I was decently wise about it. Like, hey, I got lucky, and like I don't want to be the type of person that just thinks this is normal.
Yeah.
I remember looking at my portfolio, and it was either 14 or 16,000% increase, like something crazy like
You
that.
you gotta tell a story about your professor.
Which one?
Weren't some of the kids in college talking about it a little bit? and you told them or something. You had mentioned something about. Remember that? Right?
Well, remind
Am I
me.
just thinking that? Well, no, I'm trying to because I don't. It was like you were in class and someone had brought up, at this point it was starting to rage crypto, and that was the new deal.
Hmm.
And you were in class and your maybe professor was talking about it, and he asked if anyone was interested in it or trading or whatever, and or maybe like someone was saying, "Oh, it's a big scam, and all you do is lose your money," and then you like raised your hand and was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm up like thousands of percent right now. I don't know
I
what you're talking about."
so I yeah. So someone had like brought it up. I had so in the beginning I had talked about it kind of with people, and then I was kind of like, whoa, like I should probably kind of keep my mouth shut about this. Like, I mean, I remember because you're kind of proud of it too, which is kind of a. I mean, if you're a Christian, it's kind of a bad thing because I didn't really do much. Like I, I didn't have some. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like it was all speculation. It was all
Yeah.
because my wife just said, "Hey, buy the one that says dog," because I
Yeah,
love
so maybe
dogs.
she's a professional. We might have to get her on here or
Yeah.
something.
So it wasn't like I wasn't looking at charts and news and like knowing that things are going to blow up and stuff like that. So I just like, hey, this is cool. I think it's cool. It's interesting. I love Bitcoin, but I can't afford it. So I can buy this thing that's kind of similar, you know,
Yeah.
and it went up. So then we were talking about it in school one day and someone had brought it up and I had gotten to the point where like, hey, I'm not talking about this. Like I'm not, if it's part of the conversation, maybe I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to like flaunt it. I didn't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And, I remember a kid bringing it up and being like, no, it's all a scam. Nobody makes money. No, I've never known anybody who's ever made anything. It's stupid. And I like looked over at him and be like, well, not a lot of people make money, but I'm like, I'm up like 15,000%. And my professor looks at me and he goes like,
He
no, that,
overheard you,
yeah, he overheard me.
right?
He's like, no, that's wrong. Like, no, you didn't make 15,000%. And like, do you know how much that is? I'm like,
He thought you were an idiot or
I'm
something.
like, no, I made 15,000. I'm at a 15,000% increase. And he goes, he like thought I was lying. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth.
15,000 or 1,500?
No, 15,000% increase,
Yeah.
which is I think it's 150x. I
Yeah.
think. I just remember seeing that percentage in there. I wish I saw my old phones with because I was taking screenshots of it all.
As I
Cause
was
I
going.
was, yeah, because I kept like sending them to you, like, hey, look, it's increased this amount, it's increased this much, and so and those screenshots had the percentage increase, and I remember it was a massive percentage. I remember just being blown away, and so the kid was kind of like didn't believe me. I told the professor, and he goes, huh? I remember he was a very very like I trusted him a lot. He's a really good person, and he goes, what he goes if it's 15,000%, like that's gonna be like thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm like, yeah, it's this much. And he goes,
Mm.
holy crap. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm totally serious. He's like, wow. And I remember me and him have had some conversations. Like he would like bring stuff up if he saw it in the news, and he'd like tell me about it. He was like an older guy, really, really, very, very smart guy, nuclear engineer. So like
Oh, I didn't
super,
know that.
super
Wow.
smart dude. He worked at like a nuclear power plant for years and then started teaching because something happened in his life. Um, but yeah, that was kind of that. And then you and I were going after like, hey, what's next? Like, what's the next increase? And I remember the Safe Moon stuff happened, and I remember the first time I ever heard about the Safe Moon stuff was uh, Marshall told us, our grandpa. He like, hey, some lady at work told me to buy this, and I remember like trying to figure out how to buy it. I could not figure it out. And I remember just being up at like 3 a.m. trying to figure out how to use like decentralized wallets, decentralized exchanges like Pancake Swap
No,
and
DeFi.
Uniswap. Yeah, DeFi. It was Pancake Swap and Uniswap.
Yeah.
And I figured out how to do it. It was like you had to buy BNB, bring BNB over here, swap that BNB for whatever the other BNB was, like the tradable BNB or something like that, and then you could swap that for SafeMoon. And so we did that, and I remember, I think that's when I sold my AMD. I took all my money that I made on AMD, which was like 500 or 600, and I put that into SafeMoon. And that story didn't end well. So one day I was getting gas at a gas station. I remember thinking to myself, and I had like created all these wallets, and I wasn't super well versed in how everything works and key phrases. Like I knew about them, and I knew I should have these things, but I was kind of stupid. I'm like, and I remember when I wrote my key phrases down, I like wrote them down in my notes on my phone, and then I was like,
Which is
oh,
like a
yeah,
bold
stupid.
move.
Yeah. And I took a screenshot of it too. So I'm like, I got a screenshot and I have the notes in my phone. I'm like, it's in two places. And then I remember thinking like SafeMoon had bought a bunch like pretty early on, had went up in price. It was like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000, somewhere inside there that had been in profit. And I remember like telling you and telling dad, like, man, it sucks because if I lose this phone, like, if all my money is like on this phone and I'm screwed. And I remember I went and got gas one day and I put my phone on the roof of my car and then like started pumping gas and I was listening to Bluetooth. I was listening to like a news channel and I got back in my car and I drove off and my headphones cut out, like my Bluetooth headphones cut out. And I'm like, crap, my phone was on my roof. And I looked forever for that phone and I could not find it
Yeah,
anywhere.
you called me up. I drove up trying to find it. You know what I'm almost thinking? I wonder if it fell off in the parking lot and someone swiped it right away. 'Cause,
Maybe.
dude, we couldn't find it.
We looked too. The only other thing
All
I
of
think
the
of,
ditches and everything.
the only thing I think of is if it fell off into the road and then it just got ran over multiple
Yeah.
times. But by the time we got back there and like looked, that's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah. Well, that was a learning lesson then, right
Yeah,
there.
that was a massive.
Well, it's like it's that's what it takes is for you to almost make. I mean, it's probably is. There's other ways around it, but you definitely learn from your mistakes. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And I
so
think
that
we're probably fortunate enough to, or you
yeah.
making a mistake, so then I don't.
Yeah, so that was a big thing. Make sure you have like your key phrases in a very safe spot. So that was huge. Eventually, Dogecoin obviously came down. I sold some of my Dogecoin. Actually, to this year to date, it's all gone. I sold it all. I used a chunk of it to pay off debts, and I used a big chunk of it to buy a miner, a big boy miner, which I ran for a long time. It's actually in the closet behind me. I ran that for a long time, and
We could probably get in. We could probably get into the miners. So like do almost have a whole designated video just for that.
yeah,
'Cause, like almost if you were doing something on the miner, you would almost be teaching me still, just because there's so much stuff to know about it.
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's pretty simplified now. Like if you buy a miner and you just pool mine, it's pretty basic. I mean, totally having having a total understanding of what is actually happening and turning your miner on and making crypto are two very different things. They're pretty self-explanatory. I mean, once you get your miner, I mean you input your information, you connect it to a wallet, you connect it to a pool mining website, and then you click go, and then crypto gets deposited into your account. And it's pretty basic, but if to understand exactly what's going on, to look at all the metrics, understand them, and what's kind of happening, is another story.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't necessarily need to do all that. I think I bought 2 miners actually. And then I also mined, me and you both mined with our PCs, mined Ethereum
Yep.
back
Yep.
before
I
that.
actually just logged into my old account
Really? Yeah, before that
or
one,
wallet.
proof of stake, we mined it for as long as we could. I actually made a couple $100 from that.
Yeah, I think I was like $100 or something, and I think
Yeah.
I swapped it or put it in a different wallet or something. Actually, you know what I probably did? I probably sent it to Celsius.
You probably bought NFTs with. Oh, that was the other big mistake though that I made. Good. I'm so glad that Celsius didn't have Dogecoin, because my Dogecoin would all be gone too.
Yeah.
Because I remember I put everything that I had except for my Dogecoin went to my Celsius account, and then that got locked up, and they went bankrupt. So that was another big mistake. Like, hey, not your keys, not your wallet. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely been some big wins, but there's also been some big mistakes, big learning curves. You want to talk about the latest win?
Let's save it.
Okay, we'll save it. Let's
do it.
That'll be for a
let's save
future conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll go
Well,
into that.
that's kind of like. I mean, you didn't really talk
No,
about
that's
yours.
that's kind of your starting.
That's kind of like
story
my story of how I kind of got into it, and some of my trades and some of my wins, some of my losses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I really did. I came in almost later on, in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit. It was like your beginner journey. I hadn't really even touched it yet, but things are obviously different now. And I think probably what we can do is we can almost designate a video for that.
Designated video to what?
A little bit of my side of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of a good stopping point. That's pretty close to up to date. That's kind of like my whole story of how I kind of got interested. I've always just been interested in computers and stuff like that, though, too.
Yeah.
Among
right.
among plenty of other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can kind of hit it there. That's a good stopping point. Thank you everybody for checking in with us. We're gonna start. We usually say we're gonna start talking a whole lot more about this, because we've been in this for a little while now. We've made, and this is like kind of our little what we do, as not like big time, massive, throwing around millions of dollars crypto investor people. But we do got some decent wins under our belt, stuff like that. We've made some money, lost some money, made some mistakes, made some good choices, and I think we kind of have I think we have a really good system down for, like your average person, what you can do, what to look for, like things like that.
Yeah.
And we can kind of hit it there. Thank you guys for checking in. Please hit that like and subscribe. Put any comments, like anything that you guys think, whatever.
Anything you're interested in, something you want to talk about, or something you want us to talk about.
Yeah. Or if you want us to talk more about a specific subject, or if you have any questions about my story or anything like that, please post a comment.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.